Hello and thank you for joining me today. Today I am joined by 25 other amazing artists for the Magic of Winter YouTube hop. I'm extremely excited to be part of this hop and grateful for the opportunity. This hop is really simple with the rules. All you have to do is subscribe to all the artist channels, give it a thumbs up after you watch the video, comment from where you're watching from, and if you feel the need, you can always share the hop as well. That's always greatly appreciated. If you have any questions about the hop, all the information is in my description below. Now let's get down to the project. For my project, I decided to play with Prima's sugar cookie collection. Right now I'm showing you all the little pieces that I decided to fussy cut out, and then I'm using the opposite side for the heart itself. I only used one 12 by 12 piece of paper for this project. Now that I have all my pieces cut, I'm going to apply some soft body gel to both the paper and the wood and adhere them together. Once everything was placed and the gel was dry, I did go ahead and sand the edges of this heart. There was no reason for you to watch that. Just like the fussy cutting, I saved you the pain. Anyhow, because I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to be doing from this point on, I went ahead and added a clear coat of gesso to the heart just to make sure that it would be able to hold up to any of the mediums that I throw at it. Now I'm moving on to a mix of my embellishments that I've picked. I went ahead and chose some vintage snowflakes from Renee Bouquets and some resin pieces that I had poured randomly. I have a frame from Stamperia and some bits from Prima. The leaf is from a Prima mold, and then the snowflake and poinsettias are from the sugar cookie collection mold. I did apply a clear coat of gesso to that off camera, and I'm starting to paint it with a brown. I decide that I don't like that brown, so I move on to a liquid acrylic, and I eventually decide that I don't like that either, and I change that up. But you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. You have something in mind and it doesn't quite work out, so you change it in the process. And I just left that in here because I wanted you guys to see that not everything works out the way that you have in your head, and sometimes you just have to change it midpoint. So until I'm happy with it, I'm just going to play with my embellishments because I'm not really 100% sure how this project's going to turn out. I just have something in my head and I'm just trying to work with it. Here you can see that I've added a little bit of Lindsay's on top of my impasto paint, and that's just to add a little bit of sparkle and shine from the mica from the Lindsay's. Sometimes you mix products and it works out perfectly. This is the case for me. Anyhow, I'm just going to keep coloring my embellishments, and you can see that I've changed my mind again on that frame, and I'm adding some Sparks paint, which is probably what I should have picked in the first place because that is absolutely my favorite Sparks paint. Anyhow, I wanted to add some texture to the background without overtaking the paper and changing it up too much. So I just wanted to use a very fine stencil. So I chose Finnabair's, I believe it's Love Letter or something along those lines. Anyways, I used just a little bit of modeling paste, and now I'm going to go ahead and add in some sparks into my background. I'm just trying to grunge this up just a little bit and add some color in the background. This color actually matches this paper very well and it blends in beautifully. But here you can see I'm just adding a ton of water, and I'm almost making this like a watercolor. I like to do this because while it looks like a watercolor with a lot of mica in it, it doesn't react again when you put water on top of it. So that's why I do this. Once I'm happy with it, I'm going to give it a dry, and I'll speed that up so you won't have to watch me dry paint because, again, like fussy cutting and sanding boards, it's a little painful to watch. I did try to speed this up as much as I could, and I'm sorry that this video is over 14 minutes long because I know that people get really bored, but hopefully you can hang out with me. Anyhow, so now I'm adding some more of the Lindsay's color in, and this is just a beautiful brownish pink color, and it adds a real nice vintage feel to it. So that's what I'm doing here, and once that's in the place that I want it to be, I'm going to go ahead and dry that in place. And by drying it, it just kind of forces it in, and it leaves those little watermarks that you get in the old paper kind of feel. Anyhow, so now I'm going to move on to the sides of the heart because it is honestly my biggest pet peeve to leave the sides of a canvas 100% blank. It just feels undone. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this, and you'll see that I'll add some dry brushing to it later. It just, for me, it finishes off the project, and I can't see putting all the work to the top of the project and leaving something that you're going to see unfinished. But that's just me and my OCD ways, I guess. Anyhow, at this point, I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do, so I want to go ahead and start bringing things together. And these are the elements that I've chosen to use, so I want to kind of give them a cohesive feel. So I'm going to dry brush some white onto that, and I'm going to do that on the heart and all the embellishments. And I'm just trying to give it more of a cohesive feel, because everything's kind of random at this point in time. And even with the paper tying it all together, it still looked very separate to me. So a quick coat of whitewash, and that's what I'm doing here. Once I'm happy with that and I feel like everything is a little bit more cohesive, I'm going to move on to my next step, which is adding a little bit of wax to my embellishments, because, you know, at this point in time I've put gesso on them, a couple layers of paint, and some of those fine details are getting lost. So I want to make sure that I bring them back to the surface. So I'm going to add a little bit of brown to the bottom of my ice skate just to give it more of a realistic feel, and I'm going to add some to the back of that as well, because again, you might see it peeking out from the bottom, so I want to make sure that it isn't just stark white. Next, I'm going to move on to some rose gold, and I'm going to add that to the ice skate and the poinsettias. I can't bring myself to add it to the leaf because, I don't know, the pink leaf, I couldn't get there. Anyhow, I'm just adding my wax very, very lightly, very sparingly. To some points you don't even see that it's there. But I'm just trying to bring back the little details that might have gotten lost in all the layers. Now I'm going to start adding my embellishments from the collection. I have some of the paper embellishments, and then I have the elements that I fussy cut out of the sheet of paper as well. I did go ahead and adhere the cutout flowers along the bottom. You can see I did that off camera. Unfortunately, I deleted it, so sorry. Anyhow, I'm going to continue to build my cluster, and I have an image in my head, but I haven't really figured it 100% out at this point in time. I'm playing off that Santa that had the ice skates hanging from the bottom of the reef. I cut that paper skates off and added the resin piece, and that's where I'm going with this. And that's really the only thing I have in my head. So I'm going to continue to play with flowers, and most of these flowers are from older collections, but they match this collection very well, so I went ahead and used them. Unfortunately, I'm going to fight with these flowers for quite some time because I just can't get the cascading feel that I want, and they feel very balanced. Eventually I figure it out, so please be patient with me. You can maybe leave your comment and tell me where you're from in this moment in time, and subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated. And also a requirement for the hop, so you can win one of the prizes from our beautiful sponsors. But I'm still fighting with these flowers. I'm really having a hard time with it. And honestly, I cut a bunch of this out of the video, but if I cut any more out of it, it really, really looked choppy. So please bear with me. And just know that, you know, sometimes you walk away from a project, sometimes it comes together easily, sometimes it, you know, you start over and you rip it apart. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. But I'm just tucking things in and adding things and building up my layers, and eventually it comes together. I'm tucking the little flowers in between the papers, which is giving them a little pop. So instead of using the foam tape, I'm using the flowers. And it actually works really well. And then I'm still fighting with these two flowers. And this really is why I'm not liking this project at this point in time, because I can't get past these two flowers. And I love both these flowers, so I want to use both these flowers, but they're also causing me the pain. So I've decided to take the second pink one off because I figured it was just too much pink and I couldn't get past it. And I still can't figure out why I don't like it. So I'm going to adhere the Santa because I know that's where I want it. That's my focal point. That's what I've been building this heart around. And I'm trying to make it fit. And now I figure out that that pink heart, that pink rose is just too big. So I use the smaller one, and now it feels a little bit more in sync to me, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with my process. I start adding my snowflakes in, and then all the final touches start coming into play. So with my snowflakes in place, I'm going to go ahead and grab the extra Santa from the Ephemera collection. And this is just, it matches the Santa that I already have. I'm just going to cut the book out and add a little bit of foam tape behind it and just give it a little extra pop. I'm trying to build up my focal point because I want to make sure that he grabs your attention. And plus it has that rose gold on the embellishment that it didn't have on the paper. So now I'm adding some more flowers to my fussy cut wreath, and these are older Prima flowers as well from my stash, but they match the collection, so I'm going to continue to use them. And I'm using the leaves from this collection as well. They're a little bit more vintagey in color, and they're not as green as the paper ones that I had ripped off the back of the other flowers. I'm adding in a tiny heart from one of Finnabair's molds, and I'm adding a little bit of Sparks paint to the center of it to match the collection as well. Now I'm going to bring everything together a little bit more with some snowflake paste, and I'm just putting this on top of the flowers that don't have anything, and actually I wind up putting it everywhere because I like the way that it's working. So I'm just going to cover everything with little bits of snowflake paste, just touches here and there, and I spread this up quite a bit because I really did add a lot of snowflake paste. It doesn't look like it, but it's really, there's a lot for me anyhow. So now I'm going to bring in some more Sparks paint, and I'm just trying to drag out the paint a little bit and just add a little bit more sparkle and shine, and just add a little something something. So you can see that I'm just bringing the spills a little bit further across the heart until I'm happy with the way that it looks. And these are just the final touches. For me, I like to do these kind of things. Some people leave this out. Some people think it's overkill. But for me, it's what makes the project mine. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of splatters, and I'm using some white pearl for this. And I've just watered this down a lot. And I'm using a piece of acetate to cover my Santa so I don't get too much paint on him. I do unfortunately get a little bit on him, but I think I got most of it off. And now I'm going to add lots and lots of glitter. So some glossy accents to my roses, a little bit on Santa's hat, some around the wreath, just lots and lots of glitter, because you know, what is Christmas without glitter, right? Glitter makes Christmas better. Anyhow, that really wraps up my project. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for spending your time with us and hopping along. Please make sure that you subscribe to all the channels, give us thumbs up, leave a comment, and tell us where you're watching from. So if you stumbled across this hop midway and you're somewhere in the middle with me, you'll want to head back to the beginning and start over, or you can continue with the next person after me. Remember, all of the links will be listed in the description box below. So just make sure that you watch everybody's videos. Again, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope that you have a wonderful winter season and a very happy new year. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.